Now, as we've been telling you on the program today, French Prime Minister Elisabeth Borne set out the government's controversial pension reforms yesterday, and it's getting a lot of reactions in the French papers, as you can imagine. Deepti Laurent, our press reviewer, is here to take us through the reactions. Deepti.
Well, Alison, it's dominating pretty much the front page of every major French newspaper today. Not a surprise there. Those pension reforms seeking notably to raise the retirement age to 64 from the current age of 62. Libération, the French left-leaning paper, notes on its front page, today is looking at this on its front page with a headline that is actually a play on words. It sort of explains better in French, but basically the play on words is that Elisabeth Borne is bringing out what they call the sort of axe to begin this war, but it's not an axe, it's actually an age, that controversial age of 64, which is sort of setting the stage for a potential clash between the government and French unions. So that's Libération. L'Humanité, the communist paper, also focusing on this, really saying in its coverage today that retiring at 64 is a big step backwards. The paper sees it as a, quote, collective punishment where all employees lose out, particularly those from impoverished classes for whom this is practically a death sentence that they will have to work until they die. Alison.
Yeah, the left-wing papers there are laying out a pretty grim picture at Deepti, but some of the right-wing papers are welcoming these new changes to the laws.
Yeah, L'Opinion, which is one of the more conservative papers in France, is welcoming these proposals in its front page today here in its coverage. And actually, it says, the editor says, I quote, finally, after so many attempts and so much delay, France is starting to, begin discussing how to play catch up with the rest of Europe, because indeed, France does have currently one of the lowest retirement ages on the continent. The paper even expresses its disillusion that the government sort of caved to that age of 64 down from 65, which is what it had initially planned for these pension reforms.
All right, Deepti, we're going to move on to California now, where more flooding is expected this Wednesday and extreme weather that's already killed over a dozen people.
That's right. It's really making the front pages of the U.S. papers today. This is USA Today, a parade of storms. Wet winters in California and dry summers are not uncommon. It's pretty much a norm for the climate there. But USA Today says in a state with a $3.6 trillion economy, the weather matters, and this parade of storms that we've been seeing that's expected this Wednesday as well is very much out of the ordinary. It also raises the hard questions, notably about how much of this can be attributed to human activity and to climate change. The Washington Post noting the sort of irony that California once wished for so much rain, and now floods are devastating its towns, because it is indeed almost unfathomable to imagine that California is in a state of both drought and flood as we speak. And these floods are, of course, devastating towns, homes, but also, more importantly, just as important, it's infrastructure, as the Washington Post notes.
And you're going to stay on the topic of climate change, Deepti, because the EU's climate change service says 2022 was the second warmest on record for Europe.
Yeah, Politico is actually relaying this information today from the Copernicus report, and despite a rather flippant headline, it is a very serious article. 2022 was the fifth warmest on record for the planet and the second warmest for Europe. The dry summer, followed by a pretty mild winter and very little snow, as we've been talking a lot about this month, has sparked little hope that crops will even begin to be able to recover. And in this article, you'll see that France, Spain, Italy, the UK, Germany, and several other countries recorded their warmest summer ever. Alison.
Right, Deepti, we're going to end on something a little bit less despairing. A couple in Alaska who run a dog walking business, and they've gone viral.
That's right. I love the name of this company. It's called the Mountain Mutts, and it is a husband and wife run dog walking business in Alaska. In fact, their sort of local business grew so much that they recently purchased a bus. It's called the Puppy Bus. And it is basically a little bus that they use to bus around their canine clients. And actually, their TikTok account has recently blown up because they published this video, which has been viewed 50 million times, and you basically see their various dogs sort of hopping up onto the bus and then picking their seat and then putting their seat belt on and greeting their other dogs. So it turns out dogs are very much like us. They do use the bus, although they greet each other in rather different ways, I must say, Alison.
Yeah, I'm impressed. Those dogs seem very well trained as well.
Very civilized.
Deepti, thank you very much for that look through today's headlines.